Hi, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop, and well, we're going to tear apart the boss's snowblower engine because I think he lost the decompression on the cam. So we're going to have to tear it apart, check it out, and order a cam. I want to get the cover off the tappets so I can check to make sure that's the problem. But I got all this crap in my way before I can even get to the cover. This will tip you down. A lot of this stuff on here is very loose. I don't know if somebody else has worked on this thing at some point. There's not a whole lot that's tight on this thing. That ain't what I want. That one's too small. I'm guessing this thing is metric. Huh. Well, it's got to be one of these or we'll cut it off with a Dremel tool. Little cover on the side here. Guess we're going to have to pull this tube out of here. Man, this thing is guess we'll just leave that one on, I guess. Get that out of my way. Oh yeah, that should be interesting. Always something, I guess. I guess if it was easy, anybody could do it. And believe me, this is pretty easy. I don't really want to take off the muffler. Well, what we need is a universal joint. See if I can get up in there with that. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pull the muffler off. Sorry, you probably can't see anything, but I can't see anything either. Maybe. Man, what a place. I'll have to remember, the little tiny bolt goes on the top, the rest go on the bottom. Well, that's an interesting looking cover. Huh. Now we're going to have to pop these loose. Wow, them are really tight. I'm hoping, yeah, okay. Well, that looks better. Now, well, I'm thinking this is a Briggs, yeah, it's a Briggs Stratton engine, but it's different size than the other ones. I'm going to turn this over and see. I don't see any bump on either one of the valves. This one doesn't have Torx. Has an Allen wrench. Boy, them weren't tight at all. I just can't. Probably, yeah, I can turn them with my fingers now. Now we're going to lay this thing down on the recoil cover. Should lay there okay like that. And these pulleys are quite unique. I've never seen one like that before. The outer one is just a standard pulley. But the inner one something to put all these parts in so I don't lose something. The inner one's in two pieces, and they designed it like that so you could just get the belt off the end of the crank once you get half of the pulley off when it's time to change the belt. That way you don't have to pull the engine to get the belt on. I'm surprised they actually did something like that. I want to get this out of my way because I got to put a new lip seal on the crank. I believe this one's been leaking. There was a lot of oil on the deck. And there's quite a bit running down here. Now we gotta get a socket for that. I'm guessing that's probably metric too. Yep. And I need an adapter from, well, I got one over here actually. I could use the impact one. Go from 3/8 to half. Yeah, let's see if we can spin these things out of here. Now, get that to break loose without it breaking. Yeah, that would not be good. It's got an alignment pin right up here on the corner, and it's obviously hanging up on that. Must be another one somewhere. Oh, right there. Oh, I see one problem. Let's see. I don't know if that's metric. Got a screw up here, help holding on the fill tube. Well, we'll see if we can get this cleaned up a little bit and get that camshaft out and see what the decompression finger looks like. I want to rotate it around, and they actually have a thrust bearing on this one, or a thrust washer. And my timing mark is underneath of that. There's the one on the camshaft. Okay, I got the cam out of it. This is pathetic. Plastic cam. Well, they say it's nylon. That's much better than plastic. What's wrong with metal, you know? How much did they save on the cost of the machine by putting this in it? Everything else in there is either steel or aluminum. I don't know. But I found out what the problem is. This is your compression release. And you can see it's just kind of flopping around here. The little spring is broke. That's supposed to be hooked someplace. I have no idea where. I can't see where it would hook. But if I put it down under there like that, now it's working. So that's probably a 3-cent spring, and I'm going to have to buy a $100 cam. Because I'll guarantee you they're not going to sell that spring. So now we got it out. We'll run over. I got to run down to the shop. They called me. Our furnace isn't working. You know, a bunch of wusses. It's only 62 in there. I mean, come on. I would, if I had to guess, I'd say the thermocouple went out on it. But we'll run over and order a camshaft for this, and then we'll zip down to the shop and see what we can find out. So I'll be back at some point. Don't know if it'll be today or not, because I know they're not going to have one of them in stock. Well, I'm back, and it's a week and a half later. We got the crank. I keep calling this a crank. We got the camshaft. We got the new seal gasket. I'm all confused today. And we got the new lip seal. So we should be able to get this thing together. Now, if you remember, what was wrong with this? This is your decompression lever right here. And see how it's not doing anything? That's because I thought the spring was broken. And I don't even know if you can see this. I think the hair on your head is thicker than the wire they made this spring out of. Get this thing bent around here. I don't know if I can get it out so you can see it. You can just see it up against the off color of this nylon gear. I have it in place where it's supposed to be. And as you can see, this is now working. So I'm figured there's something wrong with this spring. It's got to be more to it than that. It's broke. The end broke off it. So I go down and you got to pay in advance. I paid for this and they called me, like I said, a week and a half later. I went and got it, and boy, look at all over the box. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. Well, look at the top. Made in China. Along with all the rest of the crap in these engines. But guess what? Look, this one works. And guess where the spring is? It's not hooked to anything. It's just sitting right there. I don't know if you can even see it. It's just sitting there. There's nothing to hold it in place outside of its own tension. So how long is it going to be before this one falls off? It's just, what a piece of crap. They could at least, they got this lump of nylon on here. They could at least pushed on that little spring with a soldering gun and melted it into that lump. Oh well, what can you do? So we'll stick that in. We got to get this seal out of here. I'll get one of my pullers out. I think this one is going to work the best. We'll find out. Got to get the hammer and this part. That's my $1 million drawers. This is all the stuff for my bearing work that I used to do. Screw this together, and then as you screw this nut down, it spreads these fingers apart. So you got to back this nut off a little bit. This is meant to use with two hands, and typically this is fixed in a machine, so it's not going to fly around. Get this in here. We'll tighten this up. And see if we can spread them fingers apart. We don't want to catch the ball bearing down in there. And see if this will pop out. There we go. Now, I'm kind of glad this came apart. I can show you the other piece. Inside of these bearings, good Lord, I'm thinking my bearing tool, inside these lip seals is a spring, very small little spring. And that's what puts tension on the seal to seal against the shaft. Now when you slide this on here, seeing you're pressed into this case, you don't want to roll the lip on the seal See how easy that just bends up? Because then the spring pops out and you got to tear this all apart to get the spring back in the right place. And if you do enough, bend that enough, you'll ruin the seal. Now this engine has good points and it has bad. On the outboard side of the engine, they actually have a ball bearing to support the crankshaft. But as you notice, everything else in here gear-wise is nylon. Pretty cheap. So now we're going to go over to the press. And we're going to press this down in here. Oh, I didn't show you, but the lip seal is pressed in and it's down 3/16 of an inch from this face. So you want to make sure you hold that distance. I'm going to shoot over here and press this in, and I'll be right back. Okay, it was nothing to that. We just used one of my pushers in my set. I showed this on the last video or two ago. It's just got all these different diameters. It's a nice little set. Of course, it's made in China. Where else? But for what you do with this, it's plenty good. You're never going to bend one of them. So now we got the lip seal in place. And, oh, I should probably mention, most lip seals are made out of some type of metal. The surrounding part, the lip seal is bonded in there somehow. This whole thing is plastic. Oh, I bet it's nylon, because that's much better than plastic. So let's see if we can get this thing over here. And we got to get this down in there, and you can't see a thing. Might have to raise the camera up. Hang on. I don't know how much you can see up there or not, but let me move this. Oh. Maybe if I slide this over, you'll be able to see something. Okay, we're going to stick the new, we got to take this thrust washer off so you can see the timing mark. And the timing mark on this thing is that little flat spot right there. So you want to work with this tooth, or I should say this valley. That tooth goes in between these two teeth. You should be able to just drop it right down in there. That looks good. Don't forget to put the thrust washer back on. I'm going to wipe that off a little bit. Top of that gear. That gear also comes off, but it's got a key that lines it up and keeps it in the right position. So that's it with that. Now we just put the cover back on. We'll put our gasket on here. We can get it on right. Figure this out. The cover and gasket has two alignment pins so you get everything in the right position. Now it's just sliding this down and meshing into the gear on the crankshaft without hurting anything. Now this is your governor. And when this gets spinning fast enough, it opens up. And that pin pops up. That pin pushes down on this paddle right here, And that's what activates your governor. Now let's see if we can get this all together and the lip seal down on there without rolling the lip seal up. That takes a little bit of patience. Okay, our lip seal dropped down. Now we got to get our gears to line up. That could be fun. And there we go. Lip seal looks good. Now we can put all the bolts back in. I don't know if I got a 10 in this thing or not. No, I got a 1/2 inch. This takes a number 10 metric socket. And we want to torque these to 90 inch-pounds. I have this huge, oversized torque wrench. This thing is big. I bought my father-in-law one of these for Christmas a few years back. And after I seen this thing, I just had to buy one. This is a 1/4 inch drive. Torque wrench. Got to screw it in here to 90. Goes up to 150 inch-pounds. This over here is marked off in 10s, and then on here you can dial it into the exact torque that you want. And it also ratchets. We'll just snug them a little bit. Then we'll go back and torque them. I think this works out to about 7 foot-pounds, which isn't a whole lot. I would think that would be a lot tighter than... That's hardly snug. I want to back that off. Okay. Now I'd really like to get this running. I'm going to put these pulleys back on. Now I got to adjust the valves and get the valve cover back on, and that's going to be a job because it's really tucked up in there. Uh-oh, we dropped something. All right, I don't want to go down under there. I'm going to have to take that off, I guess. So I'll get the valves adjusted and get them back on and try to get that cover back on. Then we're going to take that engine off my stand, put this one on it, and get it running. So when I get to that point, I'll be back. Okay, I heard somebody hollering, wanted to see me adjust these valves. So I quit and put everything. I quit before I adjusted them and got the camera back out. Now, I want you to watch these valves. I'm going to show you how to check to see if your camshaft is bad without tearing the engine apart. As far as the decompression, if one of these lobes move, you're not going to be able to tell that by watching the valves when you turn the engine over by hand. So let's crank this thing around. Okay, the intake valve is now opening. You can see it go down. Now it's coming up to compression. Watch this valve. That's exhaust. Just on the end of your exhaust stroke, I don't know if you can see that rocker arm move. I don't know if the flashlight's helping or not. See it go down just a little bit. Now the intake's opening. The exhaust is opening. And you got that little bump right there. That tells me that the decompression finger is working. Now I want to get this up at top dead center. It should be right there. And both of these should be as loose as they're going to get. So I want 6 and 8. Got to break this. Now these are Allen head screws. Some of the Briggs are Torx. These are not. Which one's 6? This one's 6. That's way too tight. Feel a little drag on it. Now what you want to do, this is the hard part, trying to get that screw locked without this nut turning. It could be a little tighter. I'm just going to break that loose a little bit so I can turn the nut. I don't know, seems a little loose. I don't know what's in your way. I guess the spark plug wire is. That don't feel bad. Now, can I hold it without it moving? Get the wrench tightened down. Feels good to me. Now this goofy thing's in my way. So this should be interesting. Oh yes, this is going to be really interesting. Get rid of that 6. Maybe I can come up from overhead. Thing just kicked out and told me my battery's getting low. I don't know what you can see, probably nothing. That spark plug wire is really just in a really bad place. Got that lax screw just a little snug. I don't feel bad. Now did a move on me. Oh, not bad. Now, we'll put the cover on. That should be interesting. I don't know how I'm going to get that screw back up in there. Cover goes up in there real nice. I don't know what these are. If they're 10 millimeters. We'll try putting no, these are actually 3/8. Now we're going to try putting this in here. Putting it through the cover and then trying to get the whole thing up in there. Ooh, that worked out quite nice. I'm going to plug this thing in pretty quick. Okay, what's your problem? Does not want to go in there for some reason. Let's try a different one. They have 2 different size threads. Why on earth would they have done that? That's just weird. Let me take this thing out of here. They were the same length, so I didn't pay attention to it when I took it apart. But the threads are different. One's fine, one's coarse. I do not understand that. Anything to mess you up. I'll snug these up a little bit. Now this might be a fun getting up in there to tighten the screw. Now we got to put the carburetor on. And I still do not have my choke rod. That's still on back order. Lovely. Now, get this. Oops, sorry about that. You know what? I'm going to pause this, plug this thing in before it goes dead on me. Well, it should be plugged in. Now, see what we got here for a wrench. I guess a 10mm fits pretty good. We'll use that. Now I want to take this one out. Make sure the gasket's back there. Huh. They don't have a gasket on there. I see why. I put the gasket on the front instead of on the back. This carburetor's got a gasket on it. Glad I checked that. Now we get this little spring hooked up. That's always the worst. Ah, nice. Had it hooked up, come off. This is not cooperating at all. There we go. Now we gotta try and get that stupid little spring back on there. This could really be a handful. There we go. Now we'll shove the bolts through. And we'll put the little plastic spacer on and make sure the gasket stays in place. Wish I could see. I hope I tipped you down a little bit, huh? Now, all we got left to do is poke this gas line down on here. clamp down. This wire we don't have to hook up right now. I thought I had a new spark plug. This is all my spark plug sockets. This is a trick getting down in here. I don't know who come up with this idea. I think it started figures. Now all we got left to do is some oil in this thing. Get that wire back around where it was. All right, I got that 17 horse off of my stand and sitting over there, probably in my way. I got the 9 horse snowblower engine on the stand. The stand is just a rear case from a snapper. Here's the 4 holes in the very back of the snapper. The fenders go on this side and this side where the tires are. It was a machine that was just totally wore out. So I made this stand out of it so I could bolt engines on them and try them out without them running all over the bench. This engine's not bad because it's a horizontal. The snapper engines are all vertical and you can't set it on the end of the crankshaft when you're trying to run it. So I came up with this idea, which seems to work okay. So I got it plugged in because the rope pulls the other way, which, see how nice and easy that pulls now when that decompression's working? So let's get our exhaust sucker hooked up. And the gas is on. Hopefully there's some that ran into the carburetor already. So I had to take the carburetor off. They told me the other day I was at work and I asked them, did it surge when it was running before the cam quit? And well, yeah, it goes up and down. And so I'll clean the carburetor. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, but we're going to give it a try and see what happens here. So turn your volume down, it's going to get noisy. I have to work the choke by hand because the shaft that I ordered is still on back order. And I've got a zip tie loop through the butterfly so it'll stay open. Otherwise, when it's running, the vacuum of the engine sucking through the carburetor closes the choke and kills the engine. So let's see what will happen here. gas off so it'd run out of gas. Hey, that sounds pretty good to me. So when I go back to work again, I'll be taking this thing back with me, putting it back on the snowblower, and hopefully they'll never start it the rest of this winter. I guess he's going to leave it at the shop for us to use doing the sidewalks, I guess. Or he said he might sell it. So I'm not sure which route he's going. I haven't talked to him about it yet. I guess I could take it back, probably going back to work next Monday. The rep is coming in for the new machine we bought to train them on how to use it, and I suppose I should be there in case they need something done. I can put it on the machine, but until that choke knob comes in, or the choke shaft, I can't put any of these parts back on. It's just mostly covers. The primer bulb, I did put a small clamp on the hose for the primer bulb because that goes right into the float bowl, and you don't want to suck air into the float bowl. That'll kind of mess up your carburetor. And this is the first snowblower engine I've seen that has any type of an air breather on it. That's just a screen. Most snowblower engines don't have anything on the end of the carburetor. It's just wide open, and then, of course they got covers over it, but you'd think they'd have something on there. But this one's done. On to something else. So if you have any questions or comments, send me an email. And until next time, work safe, have fun, and I'll talk to you soon. So long.